Welcome everyone to Fat Boys Outdoors, brought to you by Whisker Stick. Paul Ragsdale with Team Fat Boys Outdoors. I got with me Lyle Stokes of Catfish Weekly, and we're going to pick his brain a little bit. And it's been a while since I've got him on video. So, Lyle, how you doing?
Doing great, Paul. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing 100%, dude, 100%. And we're just trying to get this show up and off the ground and all that good stuff. But I want to talk to you. When I was first getting into catfishing and I was using these tiger poles and different stuff like that. I always heard people talking about the Blackhorse custom rod. And of course, I bought two of them, and you sponsored me, and I got one of them from you. So I own three, Justin owns two, and we just think they're the best rod that we've got in our arsenal. So I was kind of curious about when you got started making rods and kind of what's involved into making one, or at least thinking about making your own.
Well, Paul, I started making fishing rods in 1984, and I started making some for myself and family members. And the next thing you know, people was wanting me to build them for them. In those days, we done a lot of fly fishing and stuff, and I got to doing bass rods and different things. And once I started tournament catfishing a few years later, they all became catfish rods, and I still do build a few crappie rods and bass rods. I don't build any fly rods anymore. It's the thread and stuff is so small diameter, and I don't see well enough to make them look the way I want them, so I don't do any of that anymore. But we're really slowing down on the rod building. I don't do near as many as I used to. At the times, I used to be 60 and 80 rods behind all the time, and that's just crazy for a 60-year-old man to work that hard. But I still enjoy it, and my big thing now is developing new stuff to come out with. We was the first company that made a catfish specific bumping rod, and these guys that go out and say they got a bumping rod, they just call up a company and overseas and have them build one. We was 3 years in designing to get what we got, and had guys testing them and all over the country. And that's what we do. And if we come out with something, we want it to be the best that's on the market.
Right. I like those rods that you got behind you. I guess those all catfish rods.
Absolutely.
How many of them belong to me?
None of them.
You sure?
I am. Every year we always make a post about get your Christmas orders in early, and this year I didn't do it, and we didn't take very many Christmas rods, and I have two left that will ship out tomorrow, and those will be the last Christmas rods, and then I can get back to doing regular customer work. But at this time, I'm as low on orders as I've been in probably 10 years, and I've got about 15 or 20 to do. And like I say, at times I've been as many as 60 and 80 rods behind, and that's just too much over your head. I got the feeling guilty if we took off and went fun fishing, or if we took off a week and went to a big tournament somewhere, because I knew I had all that stuff sitting there waiting, and I should be working on rods instead of going fishing. And that's, fishing is what we do, and at my age I want to continue to do that and do less work.
Right. There's a couple of videos out there of your rods, and nobody's going to throw 50 ounces of weight, but I got an idea from somebody and ended up putting 50 ounces on that rod that I got from you, and just toss that stuff sailing. So I'm a firm believer in that rod not breaking under general use. I don't advise anybody to try that, unless they got the money to buy a new rod. But I was slinging at 50 ounces. I just couldn't believe what it throwed, and then there was another video I think somebody had out there of had one doubled over or something of that sort.
Yep. That video was so funny, and I think you ended up throwing what 100 ounces or something on it. It was way more than
It was 50 ounces.
50. Okay, well, whatever it was unbelievable. And I actually was in a tournament in Indiana when you done that video and sent that to me, and I watched it. And 2 or 3 guys and I got to visit, and my whole motel room was full of people watching that video that afternoon. People come up 3 or 4 times, and when you hooked it onto the lawnmower, that was the dangerous thing. I told him guys that there's no way that I would ever thought that would work, and it was a great testimony to those blanks that we use, and I don't see anybody else hooking on to them with the riding lawnmower taking off.
No, and the way I did that, that was up on top of a hill, and I was at the bottom of the hill with that lawnmower. So that kind of gave an idea of with the line being down in the water and it pulling at that angle at 45. And I'll be honest with you, I almost was thinking I was going to have to buy a new rod. That thing, I thought, well, if it don't work, I'll just edit that part out.
Well, and we don't want them edited out. If there's a problem with something, I need to know about it. But I was very surprised that it took a riding lawnmower. And, years ago, I think, I talked about it. The guys was talking about how their stuff was so good and so this and that. And I've always had the offer out there to anybody that thinks they have a better rod than what I build. We just stick them in the stake pockets of a pickup and both of us take off and see what happens. But to date, nobody's took me up on that. And so I don't talk about it anymore. That was a long time ago when a guy was saying his stuff was so great. But one of the things that I believe in is when people say, well, this is the best or this is the best, that's a personal opinion. And what I consider the best on the market is not what you might consider the best on the market or the other guy. So I tell people all the time, don't ever say they're the best. Just tell them they're the best you know of, or you like them the best or something. Don't say they're the best in the world, because there's always something somewhere that's just above everybody else. And I don't
I'll just say I like mine and they're not for sale.
Yeah, that's good, because like I say, when you go to telling people it's the best and the best, well, it may not work for the next guy. He may fish different, or he may not circle, he may set it, whatever. And, they're not for everybody, and that's okay.
Right. Well, Catfish Weekly. I remember bringing you in number 2. And you've been on there ever since. And I've seen Catfish Weekly grow beyond what I could even think that it would have been. And
it's amazing.
You've done a lot of good with that. You want to kind of go over about Catfish Weekly and what you got planned? And
sure. Catfish Weekly is my new big deal for me to spend my time on. We really enjoy doing the show, and it's got to the point where Cindy has to come out here and help me do it. I asked her to be on the show several times, and she was on it a time or two, and didn't think she wanted to do it, but it's got to the point where I can't keep up doing the show. I think last week we've had like 1,800 views on it or something, and Doc is. We had a big giveaway on that show, and it was a lot of fun. But, when you was involved with the show and I got it, it took me about a half a day a week to do everything pertaining to the show. Once you got me lined out on how to set everything up. And now it's 4 or 5 days a week. I either on the phone with somebody setting up interviews or doing test runs like we're doing Now you have to set everybody up, make sure their computer's compatible and they have all the right things downloaded, or we're doing
And that's and some of them are
that's correct. Yeah. And some people don't have the internet connection. Some people don't have the cameras and different things. And but we do those live remotes. You know, we do them every year at Bass and Moore, and we done one at Brunswick this year, and we do them every year down at Mississippi River Monsters, and we're going to be doing one at the Winter Blues on Wheeler. And all that stuff takes time, getting all that stuff set up. So what used to take a half a day is taking a whole week now. So as far as the rod billing, all I have is late at night and on weekends. So Catfish Weekly is where we're geared to. I've got hours and hours of video that Cindy and I have shot out fishing. I haven't even had time to edit it. I've got a really good one of when we fished with Jeff Dodd out of the Monster Cat. And I have to have, at some point, I have to have time to get some of the other stuff done, because the videos and the show is what we want to gear our life to for the next few years until we decide we've had enough.
right. And kind of like Twisted Cat, you know, there comes a time where you got to let it go.
That's exactly right. And that was a lot of fun for a lot of years. We had a lot of good times, met a lot of good people online through that. And it just got to the point where with that particular web page, it got to the point where you couldn't keep the spammers off. If you remember, you and I worked on that relentlessly, and they just kept getting in. And at that point, it's not worth the effort to me. We have some spammers now that get on Facebook and different things, but I can eliminate them pretty quick. In those days, we just couldn't stop them.
Yeah, it just came in troves.
Yeah.
All right, the big thing that's coming up, I guess. You know, I'm not geared towards tournament fishing. However, Catfish Weekly has an invitational coming up, and it's going to be huge, is what I hear, Lyle.
Yes, it is. It's called the Catfish Weekly National Championship, and people throughout the United States had to qualify by finishing in the top 5 of a qualifying tournament somewhere in the U.S. And I come up with this idea because this group said, well, we're having a national championship, and this group have a national championship, and you had to fish their tournaments in certain areas of the United States. And that's not a true national championship. A true national championship would allow any tournament director throughout the United States that wanted his group to be involved with it to be involved with it, and then the top 5 teams from that tournament would qualify. And right now we're over 550 qualified anglers, and we still have Winter Blues on Wheeler to go for this year, and then that will be the last one. Then we'll open up registrations. And another thing that we're doing differently is the money that the tournament directors sent to make their tournaments qualifying events, that is to pay for all the expenses of putting on the tournament, because let's face it, stages and all the stuff that you have to do for a tournament this size, people have no idea how much money is involved with that. And it's not going to take care of it, but we'll pay the rest of it out of our pocket. And then 100% of the entry fee will be paid out to the anglers, plus any sponsorship money or prizes will be done. And we're going to pay the top 10 places, and if we get 80% participation, which is what we're hoping for, we'll have over our 200 boat goal. If we have 200 boats in that tournament, the first place will pay $24,000.
Wow.
For catfishing, that's a pretty big number.
No kidding. I could get into a little bit of that. Now that's going to be at Lake Ozark, or where exactly is it going to be at? Well,
it's going to be at Public Beach number 2 at Lake of the Ozarks. And if you go to the Catfish Weekly National Championship Facebook page, there's videos there of places to stay. And we're going to be doing a lot more of that now that basically the tournament season's over. And you can find out all the information there. I've set up a rule package that I think will be really good. I've sent it to several of the top participants throughout the United States, such as Doc Lang and David David Shipman and Larry Muse and some of them guys to check over to make sure that I had all the bases covered. So far, I've got good reviews back on the rule package, so we'll be posting that up here really soon. And the state park people are going to help us. They've give us the whole area. There'll be 3 parking lots, and we've got a company coming down with side by sides and stuff to make sure people get back and forth from their
There
truck.
not going to be trailering or anything.
No trailering. This will be out of one boat ramp. It's a huge cove, and we'll probably release boats in either 5 or 10 flight boats at a time. And it's going to be a great time. And we've got people that's had reservations at motels for 8 months as of right now. So,
All right.
And it's May 12th and 13th, 2018.
All right. Well, I think we pretty well got it cut out on this end. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank, sponsors or anything like that before we close it?
Well, we have a lot of great sponsors, Rig Wrap and Crusher Marine and Offshore Tackle and Driftmaster Rod Holders, just to name a few. That's not all of them, but all of the participants that helped us in our big giveaway last week. That was a major thing, and people that we've been affiliated with throughout the years, but not really through sponsorship. They all stepped up and made that a huge deal, and it was right before Christmas, and it worked out really well. So it was a great time. We had a great show, and I can't thank all those people enough. Guys like Steve Douglas stepped up and agreed to do rod holders for us, and Big Cat Fever rods, and Warrior Cat rods, and so many. I can't even begin to think of all of them, but it was a really good show for a great deal. It was our 200th Monday night episode. I think there's right at 270 some videos that we've done total, but that was the weekly episode, 200th one, and we have a really good time. And I want to thank Cindy and Doc for bearing with us on this show. As well as I do. There's no money in what we do. We don't make any money. In fact, we don't even break even, but we all enjoy it so much. And Cindy and Doc have been a great asset to me, as you and Chuck and Chris have been in the past. And it's made the show what it is, a little bit of everybody pitching in, and all the help all the help you give me when I'm stuck on the internet stuff, because I'm no computer genius, but you've helped me a great deal throughout all this.
It is, when I noticed that Catfish Weekly was gearing towards tournaments, and I did tournaments,
right?
And it was just time for me to bow out and try something new. And with my health issues, it took me 2 years to be able to get up and do anything, and we kind of cater to different groups, but being that I got into doing some tournament fishing with Chris Jenkins, I got kind of I don't know, it definitely caught up in my blood where I want to do some more.
It's addictive. It really is, and I'm glad that you got back. I'm glad you got back to the point where you're doing something that you enjoy to do, and I know you're going to be doing stuff other than fishing, and I think that's awesome. And I'm glad to see you get back at it and get to where you're able to do it.
Yeah, it's just mainly going to do the hunting, fishing, camping, and survival, and that's pretty well going to be it. Fire making techniques, and I got some ideas on fire techniques that are different that I think is going to raise a few eyebrows. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And remember, guys, if you ain't fishing, you ain't living.